So we have economics paper 3, January 2026. The first question says, which one of the following is an example of price discrimination? When there's price discrimination, it simply means different prices for the same products. That is price discrimination, different prices for the same products. And it said a ferry company charges more for an adult ticket than for a student ticket for the same journey. The same journey means the same product or the same service. So an airline charges the same price for business class as it does for economy class for the same journey. These are different products. Economy class, business class are different.
That's true though.
Yeah, but it's a different product. Economy
Yeah.
is a different product on its own. Um, business class is a different product, so it's not discrimination. A train company charges less for standard ticket than a first class. The same, different product. A bus company charges more for a longer journey than a shorter journey. Different service. So these are not price discrimination. The only price discrimination here is A. Question
Which is
A.
age price
Yeah.
discrimination.
Age. Question 1. Then we okay, got it. Question 2. They said a restaurant faces the following demand curve for its pizzas, the price and the quantity. With reference to the diagram, which one of the following is correct? Total profit is maximized when the restaurant sells 40 pizzas.
We don't have the cost, so
Yeah, so you don't know about the cost. Because profit is total cost, total revenue minus total cost. So we don't have the cost. So we don't know if it is a profit, it's making profit or not. So it's not A. Average revenue is constant at all levels. Average revenue can't be constant at all levels because average revenue is the same as price. AR is equals to P, and we have different prices here at different level. So it's not AR is the same as AR is equals to D. So average revenue equals to D, which is equals to price. So price is not the same at all levels, so it's not right. Then we have B is not right. Then C, marginal revenue is positive at all levels of output. Now, marginal revenue is expected to rise, then fall. Marginal revenue increases, then reduces. So it's not C. The total revenue rises and then falls as output increases here. We have price and quantity. So the answer is D. So for question 2, it is D. We go to question 3. It said the populations of China, Japan, Italy, and Greece are falling. Which one of the following is likely to prevent a further fall in the populations of this country? A further fall, that means to reduce this decrease in population or to increase the population. That's the point. An increase in the retirement age. You get this one right. Which one did you choose anyway from here?
D.
Okay. So I said an increase in the retirement age. An increase in the retirement age does not have anything to do with a fall in the population.
Although it can indirectly impact it.
An increase in retirement age. How does that? It doesn't have anything to do with decrease in population. Population is separate, but this is retirement. It doesn't have anything to do with maybe an increase in aging population. Okay, that would have impact because population is about the demographics, not situations in the market.
Yeah.
So an increase in retirement age does not have anything to do with how to prevent population fall. An increase in subsidies for childcare facilities.
Yes.
An increase in subsidies for childcare facilities become an incentive for people to want to give birth because it's going cheaper to give birth. And that would increase population and prevent further fall in population. So for question 3, the answer is B, but let's look at other options. An increase in government spending on training. Increase in government spending on training would only improve the skills, knowledge, and capabilities of household. It doesn't have anything to do with population, so it's not C. An increase in income taxes on workers. This will affect the supply of labor. It doesn't have anything to do with population. So the only option that is right here is B. Question 3 is B. We move on to question 4. For question 4, they said a firm is operating under conditions of perfect competition and is making supernormal profit in the short run. Which one of the following is most likely to occur in the long run? If it's in the long run, output is, here they said the firm is operating under conditions of a perfect competition and is making supernormal. Making supernormal profit will attract more firms to come into the market. Making supernormal profit will attract more firms to enter the market. And if more firms are coming into the market, it means output is expected to rise. But individual firms' output is expected to fall because prices are expected to fall. So the answer is A anyway. What did you choose? B? Okay, no. You choose D. Why is it D?
Wait, go up.
A firm is operating under conditions of a perfect competition and is making supernormal profit.
Okay.
So there are two things here. It's a perfect competition and it's making supernormal profit. Because it's a perfect competition, it simply means there's no barriers to entry or exit. That makes it a perfect competition, number one. And it's making a supernormal profit. Making supernormal profit will attract new firms coming into that market. So that means individual firms would not have that power to influence price and quantity. So it is expected that the quantity you sell reduces because the price you are supposed to sell would fall. So in that market, the total output is expected to rise, but individual output would fall because you cannot influence output anymore as you cannot influence price. So lower output, lower price. That is question 4. So question 4 is A, it's not D. It's A. Then I'm going to explain other options chosen. The firm's output and price will remain unchanged. No, it can't remain unchanged because your output can remain unchanged, but your price cannot remain unchanged because at this point you are a price taker because it's a perfect competition. All firms in a perfect competition, no individual firm in a perfect competition can influence the price and the quantity. And that simply means your output and price cannot remain unchanged. So it's not B. C, the firm will leave the industry. Firms are making supernormal profit. The firm is making supernormal profit. So it's expected to stay in the market and potential firms are expected to come into the market. So the firm is not going to leave. It's only when the firm starts making a loss that it will leave. Even when new firms come in, they're still going to make normal profits. And that still makes the firm to stay. So it's not C. The firm price will rise. Price cannot increase because potential new firms are coming in. The supply curve will shift rightward. And because your supply curve is shifting rightward, it reduces the price of the product. So the only option that is right here for the conditions of a supernormal profit and the perfect competition is that an individual firm's output would fall and the price is expected to fall. So question 4 is A. We go to question 5. We can keep this space. So question 5. So for question 5, it's a graph. So for question 5, they said the diagram shows the cost and revenue curves. I'm not sure the audience the graph. So for question 5, they said the diagram shows the cost and revenue curve of a monopolist whose average costs are falling. Now I said, which one of the following would be the sales volume maximizing price? For the sales volume maximizing price, well, the answer is A. You got the next one. The answer is A. I'm going to explain that anyway. So here, A is the lowest possible price in the market. And the lowest possible price will bring about the highest quantity sold. Lowest possible price brings about highest quantity sold. So that makes A sales volume maximizing. So sales volume maximizing is where AC equals to 0 or AR equals to 0. So that's sales volume maximizing output. So the answer is A. But let's look at other options given. For B, where MR equals to here for B, MR equals to A. For B, MR equals to AR. Where MR equals to AR, the firm cannot decide what the market price because it's a profit maximum or because it's a perfect competition. So it's moving towards a perfect competition, which allows no firms to decide the market. So it's not B. Then we have C. So it's not B. For C, at C, MR equals to MC. No, MR equals to O. MR equals to 0. Look at C, please. MR, marginal revenue, equals to 0. So our MR is at 0. So when marginal revenue equals to 0, we call it revenue maximizing output. What do I call it?
Revenue maximizing.
Revenue maximizing output. Maximizing level of output, level of output. So that's for C. Let me just make sure it's so for C. Then we have D. For D, that's the profit. D is where MR, AR, the highest price is D. The highest price is D. That's profit maximizing level of output. Profit maximizing level of output. Maximizing level of output. So D is the profit maximizing level of output. C is the revenue maximizing level of output. B is where MR equals to AR. It's not possible. And A is sales maximizing level of output. Sales volume maximizing level of output. So the answer for question 5 is A. B is not right because B represents MR equals to AR. C represents, this is MR equals to AR. It's not right. C represents MR equals to 0. And D represents MR equals to MC, this is profit maximizing level of output. This is revenue maximizing level of output. And this is sales volume maximizing level of output. So for question 5, it is A. We move to question 6. So for question 6, resolve this. So for question 6, they said Indian Railway is the sole operator of India's national railway system. Which one of the following is most likely reason why Indian Railways is a monopoly? And when we talk about a monopoly is a market structure where we have one firm like the Indian Railway dominating or providing the goods or services in that market. And that simply makes the monopoly, the firm in that market, the industry. So here we have options. The reason why it's mostly a monopoly. One, the sunk cost of providing train service are low. If sunk cost is low, that is an incentive. That reduces the barriers to entry. Do you understand? So that's an incentive to set up in that industry. So if the sunk cost is low, it simply means more firms might enter into that market, more train businesses might enter the market. So it's not A. B, there's a rising demand for train travel in India. If there is rising demand for train travel, that would likely increase the firms in that market because it simply means the Indian Railway might not be able to contain the numbers of passengers. So new firms might as well come into the market because the demand is increasing. So it's not B. Yeah. C, there are falling long run average costs of providing train service. That brings about efficiency. So the Indian Railway is efficient, and that is why it's able to continue in that market. So long run, if the long run average cost is falling, it simply means there's productive efficiency and there's allocative efficiency. So there's efficiency in that market, and that is why Indian Railway is the sole operator there. If not, it won't continue. So do you understand the point we're making here? They said, which one of the following is the most likely reason why Indian Railway is a monopoly? It's a monopoly because it's efficient. So the answer is C. You got it wrong. The answer is C. And you choose D. I'm going to tell you why it is not D. They said the market for train travel is highly contestable. It is less contestable. If it is highly contestable, it simply means there is more firms coming into the market.
Okay.
Do you understand? So the market for railway has this high sunk cost. Look at it. Look at option A and D. They are almost the same.
Yeah.
So option A says the sunk cost of providing train service are low. If the sunk cost is low, it means new firms can come into the market, and that makes it highly contestable. So they are giving you A and D, which are the same. So that even make your options less. So it's just about how you interpret the options you are given. They said the sunk cost of providing train services are low. The market for train travel is highly contestable. If the sunk cost is low, it becomes highly contestable. So if it is highly contestable, it's because the sunk cost is low. But for train, do you know how much rail that are going to be available? It is highly, the sunk cost is high, isn't it? So to build infrastructure for train, it's expensive. It takes time. So because it takes time, it's going to take a lot of money. So that makes it less contestable. Do you understand? So A is not right, B is not right, D is not right. The only option here is C. The Indian Railway is able to continue to be the sole service provider of rail service because it is productive and allocative efficient. That's question 6. We go to question 7. I just hope you did your question 7 well. So let's see. So for question 7, they said average. They said with reference to figure 1. So we have question 7. We go to figure 1. Figure 2, sorry. Question 7. For question 7. For question 7. Question 7. What is that? Okay. Okay, they said with reference to they said with reference to figure 2 and figure 3, calculate the average loss made per flight by goal in 2024. You're advised to show your working. So this is goal, this is goal, this is Azul. We have the number of international flights, we have the number of local flights, which is the same as internal flights, and we have the number of international flights. So the total number of international flights and local flights is 198,663 plus 10,749. So we have calculator here. So we have 198,663 plus 10,749. 10,749. So it's 209,412. So that's the total number. So we have, so the total flight is 209,412. Then we need to calculate the average loss. The loss made here, the loss made in 2024 is 252. This is the loss made in 2024 is 252 million. So we have 252 million divided by the loss, the total number of flights, 209,412. So that will give us the average. So the average will be, let me put it here. So the average is going to be 252 million. So 252 million divided by 209,412. So it is $1,203.36. So the loss is $1,203.36. So that's the loss made by Gulf. So we have, that was question 7A. We go to 7B. We got that right, 7B. Okay, for 7B, they said, with reference to figure 1, explain. Okay. So we have figure 1. Go to figure 1. It said, flip. So for question 7B, they said, with reference, the question says, with reference to figure 1, explain the market structure that best describe the market for internal flights in Brazil. So this is the market share. And when we talk about market share, it simply means market share formula is market share is total brand sale divided by total market sale, sorry. So market share is total market sale divided by total brand sale. Missing things off here. Sorry, let's put it back here. Market share, let me write it here. Market share is total market sale, sorry, total brand sale, total brand sale, total brand sale divided by total market sale, total market sale multiplied by 100. So that's market share. But here we're told to find, so we have the market share already for Azul, Latam, Gold, and others. So the question says, with reference to figure 1, this is figure 1. With reference to this figure, we should explain the market structure that best describes this situation. In this situation, we have Latam, Azul, and Gold being the dominating firm in the internal flights. And we have others here. So we have Latam, Azul, and Gold dominating. And when 3 large firms are dominating the industry, it is called oligopoly. So the market structure here is oligopoly. Oligopoly. That's the market structure. It is oligopoly. And based on the fact that it is oligopoly, it means there's market concentration here. So we can talk about 2 market concentration or 3 market concentration. So when we talk about 3 market concentration here, we have Latam, which is 35.3%.
Azul and Gold.
Azul has how many? 22? No, Azul has
24.5.
24.5%. And Gold has 22.4%. So the market concentration here is, we had them together.
88.2.
88.2, let's see, thank you. 35.3 plus 24.5 plus 22.4. So that's 82.2%. So the market concentration here is 82.2%. We call it market concentration. Market concentration. And whenever you have market concentration, it always happens when it is what? Oligopoly. And oligopoly is a market structure where few large firms are dominating the industry. The example here is Latam, Gold, and Azul. So that's question 7B. So the market, I said the market for internal flight in Brazil is oligopoly, okay? And make the market concentration. Okay, that's good. So I have question 7C. What's question 7C? Have this, please. Question 7C. For 7C, they said, with reference to extract A, analyze the impact of a change in the price of fuel on the losses of gold. So the price of fuel increased from 1.8 per gallon to 2.39 per gallon. So Azul and Gold collectively made the loss of approximately 6.6 billion, according to the extract. Are you here with me?
Yeah.
So this was as a result of increasing cost of production. So it simply means the cost of production for Azul and Gold continue to rise over time based on the fact that the price of oil is increasing. So they said we should use an appropriate cost and revenue diagram to show our answer. Did you do that? MC, what happens to your average cost? This is your graph. Let me see here. According to the extract, the fuel price increases, okay? It's about the average cost of production. This is not a revenue average cost curve. If gold does not push its price upward, it would make further losses and file for bankruptcy. So I'm giving you 3 marks here. So the graph should be this.
I don't know how to graph.
Yeah, it's okay. I draw it already. So the graphical representation of revenue and average cost curve is this. In my hand here, we have the price here. We have A, B, C here. So we have the first price, we have B, and we have C. Then we have our marginal cost curve here, our marginal cost curve, MC. And the point is about AC ahead of AR. AC, we have AC1, then we have AC. So there's an increasing cost there. Then we have our average revenue. So our MR and our AR equals to price. So the point is all about the cost and revenue, cost and revenue and the quantity. So that's the graphical representation. The point we need to understand is that the AC is above AR. AR, this is the price we could sell, but both cost, because of increasing cost, the cost is ahead of the AR. And based on this fact, it simply means loss. And loss is AR lower than AC or AC greater than AR. So that is the point. And that is the situation about God. If that is clear. So that's the graphical representation of loss. So I said, this increase in the cost of production means that the AC curve will shift upward from AC to AC1 as price rises below the AC curve. As both Azul and gold will make a loss, AC is greater than AR. I think that is clear now. I have the graph already. Are you with me?
Yes.
Okay. So here you got 3. We go to question 7D. Because for 7D, they said, with reference to figure 1 and extra B, examine 2 possible benefits of the proposed merger between Azul and Go for airline consumers in Brazil. So first, what is a merger? A merger is joining together of 2 or more firms under common ownership. Great. The merger between Azul and Gold is an example of horizontal integration, as both are on the same line of production. Thank you. Horizontal integration has many advantages for the firm. It will allow reduction due to economies of scale, which allows the merged companies to make supernormal profit in the short run, reducing prices for consumers. Okay, good. It can reduce competition in the market by removing a competitor. Since Gold and Azul together control 46.9% of the market, this merger, this merged firm therefore has an increased ability to control price in the market.
So they become price makers, basically.
It can allow one firm to buy unique assets owned by another company as a new destination or a better fleet. It allows both firms under the merger to share expertise and knowledge to grow in the market. That's why many advantages. Evidence suggests that most horizontal mergers are not successful. Integration of the 2 firms is often badly managed, and many of the key workers may leave following the merger. Not to mention that the cost structure and the fleet size are relatively
significant change would make a
fleet size and variety pose another insignificant challenge. Now, you missed the question. The question says, with reference to figure 1 and extra B, examine the possible benefits of the proposed merger between Azul and Gold for airline consumers in Brazil. So most of what you have to talk about is related to consumers. But everything you talked about here is related to Azul and Gold. Except for one, when you mentioned economies of scale, which talked about reduced price. And that's all. Aside that, everything you talked about was all about Azul and Gold. So you are one-sided here. I'm going to give you 4 marks here. A lot of writings, but it is deviating from the context. So first, your definition for merger is right. I gave you the mark. It is horizontal integration because Two firms are coming at the same level of production. You got that right. It's fine. You talked about economies of scale because merger will bring about large scale of operation, lower price for consumers. You got that right. Aside that, every other thing you talked about is the advantages to the emerging firm and the likely consequence of that merger. So now my own. I wrote merger is the integration of two or more firms to operate as one entity. In this case, Azul and Go. The merger between Azul and Go will be beneficial for consumers. You see, the merger between Azul and Go will be beneficial for consumers in Brazil through the following ways. Number one, it will increase the number of aircraft which fly to different destinations, which allows passengers to move in different destinations. It is expected to increase from 150 to 200 destinations. It is stated there in the extracts. So the merger will bring about increasing destination from 150 to 200. That increases the numbers of destination for consumers. Yes or no?
Yes.
This directly affects consumers. Two, the merger may lead to economies of scale. You talked about that anyway, as Azul and Gold are expected to operate on a larger scale. So this may reduce the prices of tickets, and that's good for us. That's good for customers. Three, consumers may have increased consumer surplus. So there's increased consumer surplus due to what? Lower prices. Yes or no? So these are advantages to consumers. However, there's concern that efficiency saving may not be passed on to customers. That's one of the problems. Yeah, there's efficiency because there's increasing scale of operation. But this efficiency, because they might be able to use, there's economies of scale, technological economies of scale. There's financial economies of scale. There's managerial economies of scale. There is bulk purchasing here, and there's risk spreading purchasing economies of scale. All these are efficiencies, but these efficiencies might not be passed on to customers as lower prices. So that's one. Two, this merger might also reduce the choice of consumers in the market. They might turn to become an oligopoly or monopoly, which simply means consumers become worse off, and they are going to become price maker. So if they become price maker, it simply means consumers are going to be worse off, not better off. So these are what we need to talk about because they said we should examine. So give us the possible benefits of merger and the consequences of this merger to consumers. I think it's clear. So that's 7C and that's 7C and D. So we have 7E. 7E. Let me see how you did it. Maximum price. Okay, let's see. They said
I wasn't done by the way.
you weren't done,
Yeah.
but you're supposed to be done. You don't give me excuse here. You're supposed to be done at that time. With reference to the information provided and your knowledge, discuss measures that regulators may use to control the airline market in Brazil. So he said, merger policy is designed to prevent merged firms from exploiting the consumers by raising prices and reducing choices in the market as a result of less competition in the market. One method would be to introduce price control. The maximum price, yes. Maximum price that a merger can charge will be set equal to the marginal cost. This there could, thus, there would be allocative efficiency. So if there's allocative efficiency, what's the consequence of that? So if there's maximum price charged, so that means it restricts the profit that can be made by the firms.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
It's a good thing for the firm.
No, not for the firm.
Yeah, they said regulators to control the airline market, to control the firms. So charging maximum price,
it's a good thing for
consumers.
Yeah, even for the government to control the firms.
Is it good for firms?
No, not for firms, for consumers and government.
Have you forgotten that whatever regulation, whatever policy that government comes with, there's always going to be a consequence.
I know.
Yeah, but that's what I'm talking about here. Your point is right regarding charging maximum price, because charging maximum price means prices are affordable for consumers. Great. But government is also able to control the market. Yes, good. But what is the consequence? Do you think firms will be happy?
No.
No. So that is the consequence. So whatever government decision is, there's always going to be a consequence. So I'm telling you the consequence that you're supposed to write here is that using maximum, which is price control, using maximum price reduces the profitability for firms. And that might make them to what? To stop or cut certain services. Any service that is not profitable for them, they might as well cut it. Yes or no?
Yes.
That's the point I'm making here. Another method to control the merger is fix a maximum level of profit. Yeah, maximum profit as they can earn. So the government should set a level of profit such that the merger makes no more profit than of the industry, than if the industry was perfectly competitive. However, there's many problems with this. There are many problems with this approach. It requires regulators to have a good understanding of cost and rates of return in the industry. The monopolies as an incentive to predict to regulators to and may provide asymmetric information. Yeah, for profit, set maximum profit that can be
It's
charged.
hard to estimate the profit.
Yeah, because government have to rely on the information given to them by the industry. So that might make it difficult for government. That might make it difficult for regulation. So those are the 2 points you made, right? So automatically you're getting 7. So look at what I wrote anyway. I talked about price regulation. You talked about price regulation and it's done. So for price regulation, I wrote, this may include maximum pricing. This will in turn reduce the price they can charge, as well reduce the profit they are expected to make. This may lead to a cut in services to certain destinations. So destination is reducing now. That was the first thing. 2, deregulation. Government can use deregulation too, yes or no?
Yes.
Deregulation which may be used to reduce the barriers to entry in the airline market, which means Azul and Gold may have to give up slots for potential airlines. However, the regulation may lower safety standards. So with deregulation, safety standards might reduce, and that is detrimental to consumers. The third one, applying legislation to stop the merger. So government can also apply legislation, come up with laws to stop merger. But here I would apply legislation to stop merger, but this may not be beneficial to consumers as the industry is already in a loss state, which means airlines that may exit the industry. Based on the case study, the airline industry is in a loss state.
Yes.
So a loss state simply means within the short period of time, a lot of firms would exit the market. So if government is stopping merger, government is not doing the industry any good. So that is the problem. But stopping merger means consumer choices remains more, or consumer are available to different choices. But with this situation, if government comes up with that merger, with legislation to stop the merger, before we know it, we might not have any airline in the industry. I think that is clear. Another measure government can use is taxes and subsidies. We didn't talk about that. For taxes and subsidies, this may be an incentive for new airlines to set up. However, such decision involves opportunity cost. If government is giving subsidies, there's opportunity cost because government spending has increased in one aspect and it's going to be reduced in other strategic areas. And if government is giving up or cutting taxes, giving tax incentive, it simply means government revenue would also fall. That is the opportunity cost. So for taxes and subsidies, there's an opportunity cost. And that is the consequence of such decision. And the last one is nationalization. Government can also use direct control, So yeah, I talked about nationalization. Government can nationalize the industry. So nationalization of the industry so that it is run by the public sector in the interest of consumers. Yes or no, that's welfare. But this may in turn lead to monopoly and lack the incentive of efficiency. So if government nationalize the airline industry, it is good because it's good for consumers. But we already know what public sector is about. Public sector thinks more about the welfare of the citizens than making profit. And because there's no motivation, there's no profit motive, it simply means there's no reason to be efficient. And lack of efficiency, lack of allocative efficiency, lack of productive efficiency would bring about inefficiency in the market. So on that note, we end economics paper 3, question 1 to question, okay, you can have it. Question 1 to question 7. Hold on, please. I'm just Let me end the live session first. I'm going to end the live session on this time. Well, first, let me stop this video.